So this lesson is all about indices, or in other words, powers of a number. And you should already know how powers work, but if you can't remember, let me just quickly explain. If I wanted to work out what 2 to the power of 4 was, 4 being the index or the indice, well, all I have to do is do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That 4 corresponds to the number of times you times 2 by itself. In this case, obviously 4 times. So work this out. 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8, times another 2 is 16. So the answer to the first question is 16. Part B, 7 cubed, well, that means 7 multiplied by 7 multiplied by 7, the index here being 3, so you times 7 by itself 3 times. Now, we're not covering in this lesson multiplication methods, but you should have a way of calculating that already, I hope, from your previous work. The answer to this is 7 times 7 is 49, and then you'll need to do 49 times another 7, which is 343. The final question is 10 to the power of 5. So 10 to the power of 5 means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. 5 times. So 10 times 10 is 100, times another 10 is 1,000, times another 10 is 10,000, times another 10 is 100,000. And so there is our answer. And interestingly, if you notice with powers of 10, that the power, or the index, corresponds to the number of zeros in the answer. That's a very useful little pattern that we will come back to again and again. So, let's think about this the other way around then. Well, 32 is 2 to the power of something. So what is that number? So, let's start thinking about it. Well, 2 times 2, so 2 to the power of 2, that's 4, times another 2 is 8, times another 2 is 16, times another 2 is 32. So there's our 32 we want, and that, of course, is 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our answer is 2 to the power of 5. 1 million. 10 to the power of something. Right, okay, so we can do this as well because we already have that previous pattern, and as I said before, the number of zeros corresponds to the power. So how many zeros are there? Well, of course, there's 6 zeros there. So this is 10 to the power of 6. Now, finally, on this video, we're going to look at some more advanced patterns and some more advanced calculation. There are 3 index or indice laws. So we should look at those and try and determine some results. Now, if you think about 3 to the 2 times 3 to the 3, let's think about that for a second. 3 times 3, well, that is 3 squared, and we're timesing that by 3 times 3 times 3. Now, of course, how many 3's have we got on that question? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So overall what we've got here is 3 to the power of 5. And if you can look at the original question, you can see a pattern there. What's happening is the 2 indices are adding together to make that 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. Now we can now generalize this. If we had something like a to the power of something and times times a to the power of something else, i.e. a to the power of b times a to the power of c, that would be a to the power of b plus c. They're adding together. If we look at division, well, let's just take the example in front of us. 3 to the 4 is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and we're going to divide that by 3 times 3, 3 squared. And what happens there? Well, some of those 3's cancel out. Timesing 3 and then dividing by 3 cancels out. That timesing by 3 and then dividing by that 3 cancels out. So we are left with just 3 times 3, which is, of course, 3 squared. So you may have already guessed the pattern for this question. If I do a divide sign, then what happens is one index is taken away from the other. So a to the b divided by a to the c would be a to the power of b minus c. The final one is the multiplication rule, which is 3 squared cubed. So what does that look like? Well, it's going to be 3 squared times 3 squared times 3 squared. Now, if you think of each 3 squared as 3 times 3, how many 3's have I got in this? Well, I've actually got 6, haven't I? 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So that is going to be 3 to the power of 6. And you've probably already worked out what the rule is here. If you have powers of powers, then we're going to be multiplying them together to get our final result. So if I had a to the power of b to the power of c, it's going to be a to the power of b times c. And those are the 3 index rules. You now have everything you need to do the next exercise, so good luck.